Sometimes people use it improperly. What's the cap stack? That's how people say it. If you want to sound cool, that's a term to use. But the capital stack or cap stack, what that is like, all right, if you stack all the capital needs for this investment, where do we fall as passive investors, or where does a general partnership fall in terms of the pecking order, or how is all the money for this investment come about?
This is a story about a dude named Lane. Then one day he went and tried to rent them out, and then he became one investor man.
So in the syndication eCourse, which you guys can go and grab at SimplePassiveCashflow.com/syndication. So SimplePassiveCashflow.com/syndication is a free guide. There's a links in there to get access to the syndication eCourse for purchase. But we mentioned the term capital stack, which is a lot of people in our industry mention that, and a lot of investors will mention that. Sometimes people use it improperly. What's the cap stack? That's how people say it. If you want to sound cool, that's a term to use. But the capital stack or cap stack, what that is like, all right, if you stack all the capital needs for this investment, where do we fall as passive investors, or where does a general partnership fall in terms of the pecking order, or how is all the money for this investment come about? So let's just use a real sample investment of $100 property, right? We're going to buy $100 million asset, which my guess would be maybe 600 or 700 units. So we're going to need the down payment first, right? Just like a small rental property, right? No difference. So the down payment might be $20 million. And then we're going to need the bank loan on top of that. So this, in terms of the capital stack, the bank is always going to have the first position, right? The bank is the biggest partner. They've got the most power and control, but they're going to be at the top of the capital stack in terms of the pecking order. Then the 20% of the money that we're putting in as investors. Now, if you want to break down that 20%, and you really want to get detailed, and I think this is what investors mean when, what's the capital stack? They already assume and they forget about the big bank, but they're in there. But they want to know of that 20%, or maybe 25%, 30% if there's a large CapEx budget, like where's the pecking order in that? And then from there, on the very bottom, general partners are probably on the bottom because they get paid last. And then in there, you might have, sometimes we'll do like pref equity, right? A very small portion, a thin layer of people who just want to put their money in and make a small monthly return or yield. They don't have any upside, but they're like higher than most general partners on the capital stack. Some passive investors freaked out immediately. They're like, my goodness, there's some investors before us. But what I tell people is it's not a big deal because there's not that many of them. And it's like with that big of an investment of $20 million, that's probably going to be maybe 150, 200 investors. So it's going to a large wedding and there's a huge buffet there. And the pref equity investors are typically in like 5 to 10% is what we've seen from that will go up to the pref equity and get to that first VIP position in terms of this buffet. So if you think about it, like maybe 15, 25 people will go up there and eat their food first. So it's not, don't worry, they'll be not for everybody. And then the regular passive LP partners will be able to partake on their share. Of course, in this example, once we get enough money, we kick out those pref equity investors, so they no longer get to eat any of the profits or food in that analogy. But yeah, essentially, like this is the capital stack, right? You have the big bank taking up most of it. Then you have your thin layer of pref equity investors. Sometimes they're not even there. And then you have your regular investors, your limited partners, and then lastly, the general partners there.
This website offers very general information concerning real estate for investment purposes. Every investor situation is unique. Always seek the services of licensed third-party appraisers and inspectors to verify the value and condition of any property you intend to purchase. Use the services of professional title and escrow companies and licensed tax, investment, and or legal advisor before relying on any information contained herein. Information is not guaranteed, as in every investment there is risk. The content found here is just my opinion, and things change, and I reserve the right to change my mind. Above all else, do your own analysis and think for yourself, because in the end, you are the only person who is going to look out for your best interests.